In this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, we talk about John Lott and the Crime Prevention Research Center. As you listen to the show, you're going to realize I have a hard time saying that for some reason. It's a tongue twister for me. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this episode of the Range Minded Podcast and more on your rights. All right, let's dive into this. I'm going to do my best to not get too wound up. It's Sunday night. I was not sure if I was going to do a show today, but I am. And so if you don't mind, if you're watching the video, I'm going to be referencing the computer screens because I'm going to be reading a little bit of data. Hopefully it is worth something. This may not be a long show, but I thought it would be important to share. Nonetheless, I got to crack open a drink. Got to roll it around first. Probably can't necessarily name the drink that I drink. But it's Butterberg. Definitely not a sponsor of the show. Very, very tasty beverage. But I have a hunch that they're not pro-gun at all. Anywho, I was going through the social medias, obviously. I mean, who doesn't on a Sunday evening? And, well, first of all, let me do this first. I decided I was going to do a little bit of dry fire practice. I did probably maybe 15, 16 minutes of dry fire practice. I've got some goals that I need to be focused on, and that is one of my goals. Also, working on a little bit healthier lifestyle. Pray for me. Just pray for me, okay? That's all I'm going to say. So, as I was perusing the social medias, I came across something from Larry Elder. So, if you guys remember who Larry Elder is, he's a former politician. He ran for governor in California last time. Somehow got beat out by Gavin Newsom, who is just a beautiful, beautiful man, right? It's such a stalwart person for your rights and safety, especially all you guys in California. So, Epic Times has picked him up, his podcast or whatever you want to call it. He has a Larry Elder show on Epic Times, and he had an amazing guest. Somebody that I'd look up to very highly is John Lott, the crime prevention. What is he? What is his website called? Crime Prevention. Let's try that one more time. Crime Prevention Research Center. There. Anyway, he had him on, obviously, this couple weeks ago, last week. I don't remember when it was. Tragic events in Nashville. We've talked about that on some Instagram posts. Awful, right? Awful. Anytime a life is taken by a murder, especially a mass murder, it doesn't matter what tool is used, it's tragic. And they should be treated as murderers. And that's it. That's it. It doesn't matter what they've used, whether it be an airplane, a bomb, a car, or a firearm. It doesn't matter. They're murderers, and they need to be treated as such. And we need to stop giving mass murders that use a firearm such a platform to be seen. That creates copycats. That creates problems. Now, maybe if we show them getting smoked and having a dirt nap, that might be a different story. But I digress. Anyway, so Larry Elder had John Lott on his show. Short segment. I think it was only maybe a 15-minute video. I'll link it in the description. Hopefully I can get that in there if I remember. And it was awesome, right? It was a great interview. Obviously, if you know who John Lott is, you know that he is been in the data collection realm for years. He's a professor. And honestly, I think I watched a different interview with him earlier today where he's like, I'm not even necessarily pro-gun. That has nothing to do with it. He says, I've worked with the FBI and other agencies, and there's a deliberate misinformation campaign, if I can use that phrase, that's been pushed. Like he says, I found data that's incorrect, that's being produced in front of the public. I tell them to change it. They don't change it. So it's either willful negligence or on purpose, right? So it's really interesting. Anyway, the Crime Prevention Research Center, easy for you to say, recently, I mean, like by March 28th of this year, updated some mass shooting information. Now, you've probably heard that just this year, there's been more mass shootings than there are days of a year, just in 2023. Now, that statistic can be barfed out anytime. I mean, you can create a criteria that includes anything you want, okay? Especially if you manipulate what it is you want, what story you want to tell, right? So, and we've talked about the mass shooting numbers, the definitions of mass shootings before, how it's recently changed again. And then if they want to throw in, like, they used to not include like gang crime, but now they can throw in gang crime all they want, and it just manipulates those numbers even more. Okay, so be careful the information that you're soaking in, because it might not be correct. Anywho, back to the Crime Prevention Research Center. Hey, I got it right that time. So they, in this article, it's a pretty short article. They have some pie charts and some bar graphs and stuff that's pretty interesting. I like this kind of information. So the type of gun, the very first pie graph that shows up in this article is the type of gun used in mass public shooting from 1998 to March 15th of 2023. So this is current information, okay? By far, 56.4%, by far the majority is with handgun. Okay, now this is murders with handguns, okay? Not defensive use, this is murder, okay? This is the bad side of violent crime, okay? 56.4% with a handgun. All right, the next one is on the list in the pie chart is murders with shotgun. So that's only still a death, right? 3.2%. Okay, and next one is handgun and shotgun, which is 9.6%. Now, here's the next big one, right? This is the one that we hear about nonstop, is rifles are killing people. They're jumping out of safes, and as soon as somebody picks them up, this evil entity just takes control of their body, and they use the AR-15 in every mass shooting since the dawn of time. No, that's incorrect. Murders with rifles only. This is all rifles combined, not AR-15s, not AK-47s. All rifles combined is 14.9%. Okay? They're all lives. It's all tragic. But again, it's done by a person who chooses and implement a tool to do something. Okay? Anyway, I better be careful because I'll just get on this rant. I got to stay focused. Stay focused, Steve. Handgun and rifle. That's the next one in the pie chart. 12.8%. Okay, and then the last one in this chart is all three weapons used in a mass murder. Excuse me. Had some rice pudding earlier, too. My wife makes the best rice pudding. All three types of weapon combined in a mass incident is 3.2%. So it's the same as just with shotguns as well. Pretty small, minute number in the pie chart. So why is this information important? Well, it should be obvious, okay? The second this Nashville last shooting made it to the news, the second that the grandstanders could get on a soapbox and pull out their bullhorn, they called for an AR-15 ban. The very second. Almost like they had talking points set aside, ready to go when something happens. Oddly enough. It's almost like they're making money off somebody's tragic situation. I'm not saying that happens, but I'm also not saying that. All right. The AR-15. AR does not stand for assault rifle. AR-15 doesn't stand for it can kill 15 people with every trigger pull. I've heard that nonsense spread before. The 5.56 caliber of the AR-15, or 223 if you want to call it 223, it's a 22 caliber bullet. Yes, there's some velocity different than a regular 22 little rifle. There are some velocity differences. There's some bullet weight differences, but it is a 22 caliber bullet. Some states will not let you hunt with a 22 caliber bullet. Okay? The AR-15 not the M4 or the M16. The AR-15 has never been issued to any military in the world at any time. Ever. Now, I know there's some people are going to say, well, we shipped a whole bunch to the Ukraine. The Ukraine, we gave them some rifles. Yep. That was never issued by a military ever. Ever. By the way, that should strengthen your argument. If we're shipping AR-15s for someone to defend their life against a tyrannical government, that's the point of the Second Amendment. The AR-15 rifle has never been used by any military force, issued by any military force ever, since its inception. The M16 and the M4, yes, absolutely. Our troops use them all the time. What's the difference? Not the caliber. Now there's some barrel difference if you're talking about the M4, which why can't we have that barrel length? We have to pay a yes please tax to get the barrel length. It's the fire controls. The AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle. I know you guys know this, but there's somebody out there that just can't get it through their head. The AR-15 is semi-automatic, meaning one bullet per trigger pull. There is no select fire option on an AR-15. Unless you have a buddy that knows how to use some machinery to create a third hole, and then you've just committed a felony. Okay? Yes, the M4 and the M16 and variants that the police departments use, they have fire control options to change it from burst fire to full auto fire or semi-auto. Civilian issue does not have that capability. The AR-15 will not eviscerate a body on contact of that projectile. That doesn't work that way. You can say it all you want, it's false. Just watch any YouTube channel out there. That's what blows my mind. These anti-AR people out there in the world have no clue what they're talking about. Zero. They just read some talking points on Moms Demand Action or the Brady campaign or something, and they just regurgitate the lies in hopes that everybody will pay attention to them. By the way, they're a minority, just so you know. Anyway, let's move on. And this one is really telling. This pie chart here, and again, hopefully I remember to link this in the show notes so you can look it up yourself. And I know there's a lot of people that hate John Lott and say, well, he's a fraud, he doesn't know what he's talking about, whatever. The guy has been doing research at the top level for a very long time. He's not a slouch, okay? Percent of mass public shootings in gun-free zones from 1950 to March 27 of this year, 2023. Any guesses? Bueller? 94%. A vast, huge chunk of the pie have taken place in gun-free zones. What do you think the problem is? Why do you think these lunatics, like this last one in Nashville, why do you think they choose places like that? What do you think? Because there's no resistance. If you're disarming the public in a way that they cannot defend themselves, even pocket knives, it gives the bad guys that don't obey the law a better chance to achieve an objective. Do you think that's a fair statement? I think that's probably a pretty fair analysis. 94% take place in gun-free zones. Now, if you've been following the podcast for at least a year, then you know that I understand this very, very well. You can't come and tell me that I do not know what it's like when there's a mass shooting in my child's school, because I do know what that's like. So you can't piss up that poll, friend. I do know what that's like. And I have a lot of friends that showed up, in law enforcement friends, that showed up to that school. And I'm telling you right now, if I could have shown up with my AR-15 to defend my daughter's life, damn Skippy. But I know those men that showed up, and I knew they had it handled. Now, I have a lot of problems with the school district, but that's a different show. Gun-free zones are an issue. Now, the left will keep saying, we have to do something. We have to do something. The left has tried everything up to the point of disarming you and me, which won't do a damn thing except changing gun-free zones. The left has done more to kill children, not by abortion, but by gun-free zones than any other gun law that's on the books. That might not be a statement you like. Change my mind. 94%. 94%. You go to any mall in the United States, now I know this isn't a public place. You look on the doors and they'll have no weapons allowed, right? I know that's private property. That's up to you. Whatever your state laws say to you, I'll just say concealed is concealed. They can trespass you. They might be able to file some kind of charges to you, but whatever. That's up to you. I am not your attorney. I do not give legal advice. But when you get to schools where I can't carry into a school, I can't carry into a bank, I can't carry into a hospital. According to this, 94% of all mass shootings since 1950 have taken place in where normal, law-abiding citizens can't carry. Do the math. Do the math. Now this is just from same kind of chart, just from 98 to now, 84%. I got an idea, Nancy. Let's take out the stupid gun-free laws. No more gun-free zones. All those fancy people in D.C. walk around with their detail of guns. They have private security. They all carry guns. But they don't care about us little people and our children, do they? Banks have armed security guards. You look at any armored truck, armed security guards. Come on. It's good for the politicians. It's good for D.C. Why isn't it good for our schools? Why not? I don't know. Oh, by the way, I know I've said this before, but all mass murders caused by shooters, all of them are stopped by guns. Now, the one in Nashville took 14 minutes, which I still think is a pretty solid response time for what was going on. 14 minutes is a long time. Imagine if one of those teachers was able to carry a gun in that school. Imagine if there was an armed guard at the door. May not have stopped her, but sure hell would have slowed her down. Maybe would have changed her mind altogether. Just park a stupid empty cop car out front. Come on. All right, this one talks about sex of mass shooter. Now, you know what we're talking about, right? Male, female. A vast majority of mass shooters are male. We're seeing a trend that's changing. There's more, it seems to be, anyways, more and more females that are acting out as mass shooters. I don't know. 97%, by the way, on that one. Oh, this next is a bar chart that goes into the age, shooter by age. Okay, now this is from 98 to 2023. I better have another drink. 2018 to 23. Excuse me. My nose is stuffy for some reason. 18% of all the mass shooters in that time frame are under 21. Now that's including Columbine. Okay. Now, the next age, 21 to 30, is the highest. 21 to 30-year-olds is 32%. That's the highest number. 32% of all shooters at that time frame. It's not kids, folks. It's not kids. It's not the number one thing killing kids either. Come on. The next bracket, 31 to 40, 22%. 41 to 50 is 17%. 51 to 60 is 6%. And then over 60 is only 4%. Which I don't remember hearing anything about old people shooting up stuff. All right. This next bar graph is by state. Mass public shooting per million by state from 2020 to 2023. Excuse me for a minute. Man, my nose is so stuffy. Disgusting. All right. By far, Colorado had the highest number here. By the way, what political affiliation is Colorado? Just asking for a friend. Oh, look, I even have the data here too for that. By the way, it's Democrat ran. They have the highest number, almost 0.35 out of a million. Oklahoma's next, then Minnesota, then Wisconsin, Missouri. Okay. And I'm not going to read all these graphs, okay? We'll show these later on. I'll just, like I say, hook them to the show notes. I hope I've got this graph right. Yeah, I do. Shootings per million by state from 2010 to 2023. Let's go this one goes back. 1998 to 2023, March 27th. So DC has the highest rate of mass shooting. Washington, D.C. Now, last time I checked, there's security at every political building in the D.C. mall. Right? So there's nothing happening inside those buildings. But it's the cesspool outside of there that they ignore. Nevada's number 2. I'm pretty sure that's Democrat controlled. I think they have a Republican governor, but I think it's still under D.C. Let's see. I pulled this up by state, political control by state. What was it? Nevada. Yes, they do have a Republican governor, but both House and Senate are run by Democrats. Wisconsin is number 3. They have a Democrat governor, but Republican senators and Senate and House is run by Republicans. Connecticut, number 3. Or sorry, number 4 is Connecticut. I'm going to scroll back up here. Democrat ran. Washington, Democrat ran. Hawaii, Democrat ran. Colorado, Democrat ran. Minnesota, let's see. Democrat run. Next is Idaho, Republican run. So these things happen in both states. My kid's school was part of that statistic. I don't remember hearing anything in other schools, so I mean, this isn't just school shootings. This is mass public shootings. So there's the mall, the Boise Mall thing, and then there were some other ones too. Why is my computer wigging up? They happen in both states. Don't let them think or let you think that it only happens where there's high rates of gun ownership. That is BS. That's not true. If that's the case, Wyoming would be way up there. Idaho would be way up there. Utah would be at the top. They're not. Okay, Wyoming, there's none. There's zero. I think that's the highest gun ownership state in the country, at least per capita anyways. Zero. It's not the case. What I'm telling you is you can't just jump on and believe everything that's being told to you. I don't want you to believe everything I'm telling you. I want you to do your own homework. I hope you just say, oh man, that Steve is full of shit. Let me look it up. Look it up. If you disagree with me, then don't listen to me. But if your mind begins to be opened and you start to look at the reality of what's going on, then I expect you to man up with that and share it. Gosh, what is wrong with my computer? Stop it. How's everybody doing, right? You guys doing good? You surviving? We saw that the pistol brace rule got, I don't remember what state it was, but it was, the judge is like, hey, it was a district judge, said, hey, no, I'm not, this isn't going to work. I was actually listening to a little bit more about that case. I was like, what the heck is wrong with that judge? Can he see this is unconstitutional? And then when I heard some of his comments about why he's not going forward on his judgment, which he's judged pro 2A before. Stop it, computer, for reals. Is because he said it lacked the grounds for any kind of standing on FPC side, which is good. To me, that's good. That means, hey, you got to get your ducks in the row. Your argument is not quite strong enough, and you're going to fail. So come on, Firearms Policy Coalition, let's go. I still feel that the ATF is way out of line. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking, but we'll keep you informed when that stuff comes around even more. What else was I going to talk to you about? I think that's honestly it. But I want you to really spend some time on the Firearms Policy Coalition's website. No. Well, you can there too, but the crime prevention research centers, they have so much stuff. So much stuff. Here's an article I probably should have read before I jumped on here about why mass shooters pick gun-free zones. I probably should have read that. That's by John Lott. There's just so much. There's just too much to even talk about. Spend some time on there. Spend some time on there and arm yourself with knowledge. If you are carrying a gun in defense of yourself and your family, you need to understand the reality of it. You need to be able to articulate why you choose to carry a gun. I know it's your constitutional right, and that's where it should stop. But I promise you, there are a lot of people that don't feel that way. I think there's probably more that do feel that way than you may realize. But there's a lot that are noisy, and they don't think you should have a gun. And many of those are Republicans. Did I hurt your feelings? I hope not. Because there are many, many Republicans in D.C. that think your constitutional right to own a firearm is outdated. You think I'm BSing you? Mitt Romney. I hate that guy. Hate's a strong word. I extremely dislike that guy. I think he's shady. I think he's a dirtbag. And I think he relies on his religion to get him brownie points. We share the same religion. He's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and so am I. I would never vote for that guy. I think he's a piece of garbage. But that's just me. Oh, Friends, listen. Like I say, if you're carrying a gun in defense of your life, because it is your constitutional right, it is up to you to understand your state laws. It is up to you to understand the federal laws. Even if it's a constitutional carry state, do you know if it carries across state lines? I live in Idaho. It's constitutional carry. But if I carry into Utah without a permit, I'm in trouble. Do you guys understand that, right? I hope so. Get training. Understand the laws. Be a good advocate for the Second Amendment. Be a good steward of the Second Amendment. There's a difference between being an advocate and being a steward, okay? Being a steward is you are representing yourself to the highest standard, okay? An advocate is somebody who's like trying to help it move along, or almost like a gatekeeper, I guess. But a steward is somebody that lives that example and almost proselytes that example. We need good, solid stewards of the Second Amendment. We need people that are not scared to stand up for their rights and argue their position in a knowledgeable way. And I know there's many out there that do that understand it better than I do. I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy in the room, because I am not. I'm just a guy that will not sit down and shut up. We need to be heard. We're losing our rights. They're deteriorating. And so many of those people that represent us are happy to let it go. That should make you want to know why. Why are those people so willing to let the Second Amendment go? It's not hyperbolic to think about what Nazi Germany did, what Red Russia did, what China did, what Vietnam did, how they disarmed their people. It is not far-fetched. It's not. History may not repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes. When the Declaration of Independence was signed, wasn't it Benjamin Franklin said, somebody asked him, what do we have? And he said, a republic if we can keep it. Ronald Reagan said that freedom is just one election away from being lost. Look how they're teaching your kids in school. My daughter, she's 15. She doesn't even know about Pearl Harbor. We had that conversation today. My oldest daughter was talking about after Pearl Harbor how we had internment camps for the Japanese. My 15-year-old daughter had no clue about Pearl Harbor. I thought this was basic, information for kids. I need to be a better dad about teaching this stuff. And if they're not learning about true American history, then they're definitely not learning about the other important things that's happened in this world that's led up to evil, terrible things. Yeah, I know the United States has done some awful, awful stuff. I know. But I also feel like America has done by far the most good than any other country as well. And other countries do good things too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Swiss chocolate. Yeah. Steyerog. Oh, wow. Look at that. Same place. Glock. I know. Browning was still the god when it comes to firearms. And he's American. America. All right, friends, I'm going to cut this off right now. Please do your research. Jump on the Crime Prevention Research Center. Look through their articles. Do some research on John Lott. Man, that guy, he's smart. Try and glean that information. Honestly, save it to your computer because who knows what's going to happen. Look at the CDC research on defensive gun use. Gone. They don't want us to be armed with knowledge, and they don't want us to be armed with firearms. Wonder why. Anyways, be safe. Take somebody shooting. Be a good steward of the Second Amendment. Educate yourselves. Educate your family. And remember where your rights come from. And stand up for them. All right, gang, I'll let you go. Later.